listen to that last line again. I wanted to just reiterate that last line of that we work together to have an experience that will move you in some way outside of your daily concerns and give you a sense of awe, wonder, connection, love, a personal experience of the divine. That's what our Saturday services are all about. As a community, there's so many other things that we do, but when we come together here, we come together, right, to worship and celebrate and be with each other, but to really allow ourselves to be free, to allow for that experiential yes that is deep within our souls to be made manifest. Even if you're just sitting quietly in your chair and you're smiling at those that are really being a little bit more flamboyant, you think? Still, that joy, you're allowing yourself to move out of it. So indulge me a little bit as I talk to you a little bit of psychology here. And Abraham Maslow, he did our hierarchy of needs, right? Everybody heard of that? Yeah. Most people have heard of that. And that's this, the hierarchy of needs as human beings. Like, there are certain things that we need, right? The highest need that he said is that need for self-actualization, self-realization, right? Something to have that transcendent experience outside of the everyday. Now, our life and going around our lives, we have those everyday concerns, right? For food, shelter, and clothing, and connection on a social level, all those different things that we need in the different areas of those needs. But to say that idea of a self-actualized being, and there are some of us that we were just born with that call at the top. And I think that's what I see every time I see people that come here to the gathering. That there was a stirring in your soul that was calling you to just look a little deeper at life. To see the stars sparkle a little bit more. To turn to everybody in your life. Don't you understand how blessed we are? Can't we be a little bit more grateful for what we have? Can't we love a little deeper? Reach a little higher in our understanding. I don't know, does anybody here relate to that? Yes. Oh, okay, we get some, okay. You can answer back. Come on, talk to me here. We're here. We can have this more as a conversation. This doesn't have to be, this is not a lecture series. So I look at that, and I look at the different calls that we had in our words of wisdom. That one for John Shelby Sloan, he's an Episcopal bishop, retired, but he's going around, and these are people that pave the way. We don't know, we don't understand, we don't see it sometimes. Here's somebody who's saying from a Christian tradition, he's born and raised in the Bible Belt, and he's going up and he's saying, there's something wrong with the way we've been doing things. He's going to all of these theologians in these colleges with death threats to say that we have to be more open and listen to each other's hearts and souls. And we have to think about some of the places in the Bible where we've been reading, and we have to reevaluate what we've been looking at and saying. You can't pick and choose. Amen. You know, you can't go and say, if you're going to say take the Bible literally, well, then you got to stone a couple of people. And I think a lot of us would have been stoned already.
No makeup, no jewelry.
Yeah, I know. There's a place in the Bible where I think if you talk back to your parents, you should be put outside and stoned. I don't know. I don't know if anybody would have made it, right? And past puberty, right? We'd all been. But that's in there. That doesn't take away from what it is. But for us as a society, as a human, we have to move past the fundamentalism, the exactness, the black and whiteness of life. Life is color. Life is vibrant. Life is deep, and it is for us here to evolve in our spirituality. And that is the call that we have in what we do from an interspiritual perspective. Now, we've been using this word interspiritual since the gathering was founded in 1996, but also that was the same year, or the year after actually, that Brother Teasdale wrote his book, The Mystic Heart, in which he coined the word interspiritual. And at the time, I was ordained an interfaith minister, And I have to say that many of you have heard the story where I said, my friend took me to the open house. My friend who took me to the open house is here. So you can blame her. I know my mother did then, no. This is Marcia Grace, everybody. Say hi, Marcia. She pulled me over to the seminary with Rabbi and everybody. Then I meet another cohort, Reverend Lucille, right? So, once the cohorts get together, that's it. But that's another thing that I just want to go back to Maslow really quickly, though, that he said that in order to continue to develop that aspect of self-realization, to live that, to know that we need to be around people who do this, who speak this, who are working towards it. We need to be around people that are doing it. We need to have these conversations. It is a deep need within us in order to establish that need and have that be in our life experience. So that's really important for community and community building. But then it brings in this challenge. So John Shelby Spahn, he goes out into this Christian tradition, and he's talking to everybody about these words that are saying here. That you can't tell people what to do. Well, there's lots of rules. I don't know about you, but there was lots of rules. You did this day of the week, you didn't do that day of the week. When that came around, you had to do this, and when that time came around, you had to do that. There's a lot of rules and a lot of regulations, and you had to follow the rules. If you didn't follow the rules, what would happen? Ooh, it was scary. It was a scary God after you, right? So he went around and he said, we can't do this. And they came after him. They came after lots of people who led the way for us. We do not realize how fortunate we are to have the information that we have. That goes deep into the traditions, that goes deep into the sacred text, that allows for an opening, that allows for us to transcend different traditions and live in harmony and grace with them all. You don't have to be all to enjoy all, because I tell you now, you can't be all. Sorry. Right? But I can be all that I am. As the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. had reminded us, right? I can be all I am. And in doing that, help you to be all you are. Right? So here he is, he's telling that we need these new kinds of fellowships that are coming up. We have other places in other books that talk about how there is this need to have community. There is a need to have community where people are doing the things that we're doing. Now we come together in this time period and we start the week all the time with this celebration, but we do other things, and we do these other things because we know that it can't just be about, oh, I'm living in awe and this feels really good, and like we said, it was said in the words of wisdom here, you got to go to that little spark. I got to find it. I got to find it inside. It can't be outside in. It's got to be inside out. While being reminded that the outside remains the same. That the outside, that this God that we were told was so condemning, is really loving and consistent and available and embracing and here for us no matter what. Right? The universe is good. I wouldn't even say good, it just is. And it's doing its thing, and you're a part of it. So go with it and experience it. But experience it in wonder and not in assumption. So when we come together as community with each other, we are challenged to live in a way where we think about the needs of others. Hence, we have classes like compassionate communication to help you understand what those needs are, so we don't have to beat each other up with our own wantings and challenging. Right? We learn a little bit more about what's deep within our hearts as we are now doing, we do some work with the Buddha Sangha. We do some work with 12 steps and people seeing that a spiritual solution is a viable solution, but how do I translate that into deepening my own spirituality to put it into practice in my life? What do I do with that? How do I do that? What does it look like? We work with each other. We started doing now the Sermon on the Mount to look at it from a different perspective. There's Emmett Fox talking a whole new way about what Christianity is saying years ago. And some of us are just hearing that. and it's changing and helping us. Classes in A Course in Miracles, for those of you that like that. A little more spiritual psychotherapy. Reverend Gerard is an amazing psychotherapist. Running all kinds of classes and workshops throughout the years to help us to go deeper, Now we are uncovering the mysteries. For those who were here the other night, for the Sufis, did you feel like you were a Sufi? Yes? I gotta hear. Yeah? Okay. There were people who weren't here, right? You could feel like you were transcended back. And the poetry uplifting and calling to us. Understanding how the divine is different and each one of us is different in our relationship with the universe and how that is for us. And that even in art and crafting and using our hands, that all of that is part of living an actualized life. We can still do the everydayness of life and be in glory and be in wonder and be in enthusiasm and just really moving what this experience that we have together gives us. Does that sound good?
Amen.
Yeah.
That's what this is. But I have to tell you, it's not easy.
Amen.
There you go. And we've been learning in our Rewired class about our brain chemistry, right? Let's see. Well, she's got it. See, she's saying it's easy. She's over there, so latch on there. But we've been learning that even in our physiology, that we get stuck with things, and that's why Reverend Gerard talked about our parts, wounded parts, and allowing to let the old story go. In order to be a self-actualized human being and living that in our lives, we need to be transformed. And that's part of what we do in the work, to transform ourselves so that we can be living that awe experience. Simply, in the things that we're doing. So I come to you today. We have a lot of things, other things that we want to do. I want to hear from you guys today. But I want to remind you that today today is our celebration of 24 years. We have showed up every week. Every week. No matter where we showed up, right? Bill was there that first day in the basement. Yes, Angel Bill was there the first day in the basement. We moved from the basement. We moved to Rainbow Chimes Child Care Center. We had 2 months. You gotta get out. We moved. We moved to, what's that one? St. Peter's.
St. Peter's.
Yeah, St. Peter's. And they were like,
17th Street.
they were scared of us. We were the devil incarnate to them. Like to sit before the inquisition of their board. Say, what is that stuff that you guys do in there? That sounds that you make? What are you offering for salvation to God for these people? It's like, I don't know. I did. I told them, I don't offer salvation to anybody. How can I do that? Well, we do. And because you're not doing it, you got to get out. So, but we got an extra year out of it. So we found St. Lawrence. They were beautiful, welcoming. So one day they got a new pastor, and he said, you got to get out. There's one thing I guarantee you, that one, I will show up to the best of my ability every time I can. And two, that I will push you. I will push you to be the best you that you can be. I will push you to live these spiritual principles. So when the 4 agreements are saying things like not taking things personal, right? And when other spiritual traditions will say principles over personalities. And when we challenge ourselves to be in spiritual community and we are focusing on drama, I'm not going there with you. But I will challenge you to look at what it is within you that can't handle it, that is screaming out, that wants to pull you back back into the darkness and forget the light that you are. And we will always come back to remind you of your light, because that is what remains. And that is what we will never give up. And so it is.